Tip number 1 is to do slow solves, but it doesn't make any sense that doing slower solves will lead us to a faster times, because the faster you solve, the more faster the time you become. But that's not about cubing. In cubing, recognition also plays a very major role. So for this case, I have a very easy cross, but let me show you of two cases. The one with the faster DPS, that is with the faster turning, and one with the slower turning. So as you can see from my example solves, though I turned really slow, I finished the F12, the faster one. So the reason why this applies and plays a major role in solving faster is because when I'm pairing one F12 pair, due to my slow turning, I'll be keeping an eye with my next step what I'll be do. But when I'm solving this case really fast, I can't catch up with the recognition of what to do in the next step, because I don't have pretty much knowledge about look ahead. Tip number 2 is to do a sneaky look ahead. So look ahead comes only when you are like growing super duper advanced, like sub 15 or sub 10 whatever. But at sub 20 itself, when you're learning look ahead, it will be pretty much helpful when you're growing around like sub 15 or sub 10. So at this stage, when you're reaching sub 20 or sub 22, you got to make sure that you are into look ahead. Like when you're doing one F12 case, you got to be really prepared to do a second F12 case at once when you have completed your first case. So for this case, I have this edge piece over here and this pair very easy. So I know that I'll be doing only RU down and it will be completed. But when these kind of easy cases come, you got to look for your next F12 piece. So for this case, we have already a blue-red edge piece over here. So while you're doing any one of the turn, you got to make sure that where its corner is around. But that applies to cases when sometimes the corner or the edge piece can be over at the back slot, which might be pretty difficult. It's just a beginning of look ahead. So when easy cases like this pop up, just make sure that you find the corner wherever it's possible. So when I'm just seeing this case, I pretty much know that this would be the corner piece. So I know that when I complete these pieces, I know that this piece would be at the top layer and this wouldn't be affected by the turning of these two, because I'm only doing RU or down. So I'm pretty much sure that this two pieces would be my next pair and that would be at the back slot. So for this case, what we could do is that solve them, and then we have this kind of cases. Then for this, what you could do is that cube rotate and then solve this and insert it to the slot where it belongs to. And also when cases like this pop out, when you have the corner at the bottom and the edge at the top, the way how you take the cube ahead also really matters. Suppose if you take this cube out like in the right hand side, then it would probably end up with a very bad case. So for this case, I have this corner over here and the edge over here. So in this case, instead of taking this out using RU or down, and you'll have to do another set of moves in order to pair them and also insert them. That would make us really hard to do look ahead. That is the pieces over here and the pieces over here. So once I see these two pieces, what I will do is that I will just do U2 in order that if I take this out in a similar manner, then these two pieces will already be paired up and we do the same. And also while I am inserting this piece, I see that this edge piece is over here and the corresponding corner piece is towards its spot where it belongs to. So I know that this would be like kind of beginner's method. So I'll be turning this and cube rotate, and I'll do this case where it is supposed to be. And also look ahead also applies in the transition to F12 to OLL. So in this case, I am having a yellow line, but after inserting this pair, it will become a L shape or whatever it may be. Keep an eye on all the yellow edges, and then after inserting, I see an L shape yellow. So once I see this, I'll do the set of algorithms. And also when cases like this come up, they are pretty much similar. There are two cases which has a plus over there and a headlights with one, and another case which has pretty much same but headlights, but another thing is that we have a yellow over here and a yellow over here pointing opposite to each other. So the best way and the easiest way to recognize these two cases is that when you have a bar over here, you should pretty much look for these bars, and once you find this bar over here, just make sure that you place it towards your left hand side and check if you have a yellow piece towards facing you when the headlights are towards your left. If this yellow faces you, then it's probably the second case where these two yellow pieces points towards opposite side and we have a headlight, and you could just quickly do this algorithm. But when you have the headlights facing you or facing towards the left hand side, but if you don't see any yellow facing towards you, then this is the case with two headlights facing towards the opposite side, and you could just simply look at this and then do the algorithm. So the tip number 3 is to execute F12s like algorithms. So what I am basically trying to say is that whenever you see a OLL case like this, then you are probably just recognize it and really quickly solve it using your muscle memory. That is, just solve it and you won't think about the case what you're trying to do. And for this case too, when you see these three colors and a bar over here, then you won't be thinking in an intuitive manner like this would go over here and this would come like that. So at this stage you'll be seeing this pair and quickly solve it. So like that, you have to be prepared for your F12 cases too and execute them using your muscle memory, just like the way you do other algorithms. For this case, you might be thinking in an intuitive manner like this goes over there and then pass up and this over here. But at this level, when you're reaching sub 20, you shouldn't think this in an intuitive manner and instead just recognize it and see, oh, this is this pair with these two colors opposite and these two colors opposite, and the white piece is over towards the left hand side, and then you should probably do this case really quick the way you should. So now let me just give you a few F12 tricks. So for this case, when you have these two colors matching and the white is over here, then instead of just taking this out and pairing up and then instead setting over here, a very easy trick which you could do for this case is that L up, U prime, U, L down, and that pairs them up, and you could do a U2 flick and pair them up like that. And also for easy peasy cases like this, you shouldn't think at all, you should just see them and then quickly pair them up over here. Tip number 4 is to make the cross at the bottom and in a very efficient manner. So for making the cross at the bottom, it's not only just making the cross at the bottom itself, and also to execute it in a very efficient manner. And by the way, if you don't know about how to make your cross at the bottom, you could check out the video which I've done. And now let's get right into it. So for this scramble, I have these two with the opposite colors and the white edges which are over here and over here. In order to get a very efficient cross solution, what you could do is you could just preserve this edge right over here and also make up these two edges. So in order to do that, I'll hold this at the bottom towards the opposite side, and then I'll bring these two, align it over there, and see that orange and red will go into the slot where it belongs to, and this will go to the slot where it belongs to. So I'll hold it like this, insert it, these two, and insert it like this. But hold on, before you insert this over here, you can also see that this edge needs to go over this spot. So what you could do while you're inserting this over here, make sure that you pull this guy over here in such a way that now if you just put this over here, it will also pair this up over there. And then you could do a D2 flick in order to complete the cross, and now you could move on with your F12. Tip number 5 is recognition. So you might have known all the PLLs, or at least most of them, like J-perm, T-perm, or A-perm and F-perm. So this is a J-perm, and I have the bar over here and the little block over here. But I know the J-perm algorithm, and I could do this and put the cube down in order to stop the solve. But this case too, I have a J-perm and the little block over here. But did you see any difference? Let me just do the algorithm and I'll pop it. But as you can see, this has become a DNF, that is did not finish, and I have to do a U2 flick. So this U2 flick or U prime makes the solve really disastrous, like missing your PB by half a second, or even it will take around 2 seconds to recognize it. That is when the importance of recognition comes to your mind. So now let me just give you a quick tips on how to recognize some few PLLs. And for the J-perm recognition, little block plays a major role. As you can see, blue needs to go over this part. So when I complete the algorithm, then I would end up with the full blue block over here, and I need to do a U prime in order to solve the cube properly. So this time too, we have a J-perm with the blue block facing towards green. As we know, blue is opposite to green, so that when we complete doing a JPEG, we will have a blue block over here, and that needs to go over there. So whenever you see the blue block adjacent to green, then you are probably have to do a AUF as U2. So as you can see, this time I'll do the JPEG algorithm. As you can see, we have a U2 flick, and we will solve the cube. Tip number 6 is to fasten all your PLLs and OLLs. So when it comes to solving your cube after F12, which you might do it in a pretty slow manner because of slow turning and look ahead and also muscle memory. So try to improve only on your last layer no matter how bad you are at F12. So make sure that you recognize the OLL cases faster and also the PLL cases faster. So that's the case when you know the importance of PLL training and OLL training. So just make sure that you practice your OLLs and PLLs whenever you are at free times, instead of just scrambling the cubes like this. Instead of that, you can practice your PLLs. And also just don't do the algorithms which you're good at. Just try to look at which algorithm you're bad at. And I'm asking you to turn it really fast at the last layer, because we have turned it really slow, at least that slow, in order to do our F12 in a quick manner. But when it comes to last layer, you got to be really fast in order to get your solves under 20 seconds. Tip number 7 is to see some example solves from greater cubers. So as you can see, I might do this case in a pretty different manner, doing sledgehammer and then inserting it at the back slot. But when you're watching example solves of greater cubers like Jaden McNeil or JPEG, of course, then you have a pretty much a lot of knowledge on what you could do, and if you like the tricks, then you could change your tricks to that, and you could just cope up with the new tricks, and that leads us to a faster solve. Number 8 is to go experiment and find your own way of solving. So I'm telling this tip because I found this kind of F12 case to be really bad. So instead of just carrying on with the worst things which you're doing, then take your cube aside. Don't just time your solves always. It's not just of practicing, it's also like thinking a lot and finding your own way of solving. And particularly for F12, it's not just watching a lot of tutorials and tricks and then memorizing all the algs for doing F12 cases. Instead of that, what you could do is that take your cube away from the timer for a few days or a few hours, and then hang out with your cube and just do really slow solves, especially for F12. What you could do is that do a random bunch of moves and see what happens if you do. So yeah, go experiment and find your own way of finger tricks and F12 cases. Tip number 9 is to stay motivated and you will reach sub 20. I managed to reach sub 20 with this non-magnetic cube. You don't need any expensive cube that is over $50 or 5,000 rupees. You just need a good cube of which has a little bit of corner cutting, and that turns, at least it's known as the speed cube, that can turn around like pretty much fast, right? And tip number 10 is to just practice. Practicing makes cubing perfect. Yeah, that's what. It's not just watching example solves or just having great cubes, costly cubes, and still you can't reach sub 20. All you have to do is to practice. Get your timer on and just do your solves, bunch of solves. One day you'll reach your goal, that is sub 20. So if you follow all these 10 tips, then your solves should probably look like this. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, and if you found this video really helpful, then consider subscribing to Call of Cubes. Thank you so much. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, keep cubing, guys.